Sailing left. Bell lets it go. It hits the pylon, and so that'll be a touchback at the 20 for the Broncos.
Well, the onus is now right back on Elway's shoulders. At 3 points against this defense is going to be tough.
Tonight on NBC, a great lineup. Immediately following our game, it's A Brand New Life, followed by Ann Jillian and Sister Kate. Hope you'll see more action than our shows tonight than we saw in that little scuffle. At 9 p.m., 8 Central and Mountain, NBC presents a world premiere miniseries based on the true story, courage of DEA agents exposing billionaire drug lords. It's a terrific show, Drug Wars, the Camarena story, powerful and real, beginning tonight only on NBC. Vance Johnson, who caught that 37-yard touchdown pass from Elway, comes out to the left as Elway sets up shop at his own 20. Steve Sewell. He traps Humphrey, gets nothing. Steelers waiting for that. Tim Johnson, a third-year man from Penn State, number 78, there first.
There's a little confusion, I'm not sure confusion, but whatever it was in the secondary, both safeties for Pittsburgh that time almost ran into each other deep. So whatever calls they're making, they made another mistake. And that's the same kind of thing that happened for that touchdown a little bit earlier to Johnson. So look for Elway to run the same kind of a play pass and go down the middle on these guys.
Humphrey, the lone running back behind Elway. That's Sewell in motion. And into the pass pattern. Look at the time. Almost intercepted by Hardy Nickerson.
Well, Elway just waited too long to throw the football. I'm not sure he had anybody open, but he telegraphed exactly where that ball was going to go for a full second and a half. So everybody was poised to jump and try to block it or get an interception. If you see John looking left, sitting there watching. Now by the time he throws it, everybody's in the picture. You had 3 people in position to make an interception. That's why it's so critical to time these patterns out. And of course, that's why Joe Montana and his coaches and players are so absolutely phenomenal.
Are the 49ers any good, you think? I mean,
well, they don't get any notoriety.
Oh my, it's a 3rd and 10 Elway. He's going to run it, and he's got room. 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 32 for Elway.
Pittsburgh has been playing a very, very docile vanilla defense. This time they jumped man-to-man and brought a defensive back, Rod Woodson. So Rod Woodson's going to blitz from the outside. Everybody else is locked up man-to-man. So Elway's going to take the ball, and there's no one there because everybody's looking the other way, covering the receiver. See the big hole in the defense. Now everyone's chasing somewhere else. No one can even tell he's running with the ball yet. There's still people looking the other way.
Wayne Woodruff finally got on the back of Elway. First down at the 48 of the Steelers, and Elway deep down the middle. Intercepted! Thomas Everett. Everett at the 40. Everett at the 50. And the Steelers have their first turnover of the game. Thomas Everett, who had 3 interceptions during the regular season.
Well, this is how Pittsburgh plays you. We talked about it before the game started. They're going to keep the heat on you, keep the pressure on you, and if some point you crack, they win. That's exactly what happened last week, and it may be happening now. Again, Elway's sort of telegraphing the throw, holding it and watching. Then when he drills it, there's just a little bit high. We've got 2 people in position to make the stop. Hinkle was right there. Now the key at this point is to hold on to the ball as a defensive back.
And Everett has it at the 48-yard line, a 25-yard return. His brother also in the National Football League with the Philadelphia Eagles, Eric, a cornerback. They're from Dangerfield, Texas. They're earning some respect down there in Dangerfield. Brister throws this one away as Michael Brooks was breathing into his face mask. And Brister said, yeah, I got a guy right over there. Can't you see him?
It may have been a screen pass. It looked like it was. But have they reversed themselves on this call? Early in the year, they had taken steps to stop that. They made some calls. They were unpopular. Now they won't call anything related to throwing the ball away.
Dan Reeves, and in talking with him yesterday, he admitted he still cannot maintain his total composure when it comes to the officials, but then what head coach can? The stadium in a rumble on 2nd and 10. And it's Worley, the rookie, to the 42. A gain of 6. Tyrone Braxton, not very big, 5'11" and 174, made the tackle.
I don't think Chuck Noll's going to be looking for running backs in the near future unless they're backup kind of people, because Worley, with his power, he fell forward 4 yards that time. And Hodge on the other side doing the same thing. 225-pound backs that run north and south.
Worley complimenting Hodge. Hodge has over 100, 111. 4 wide receivers with Hodge back on the left side of Brister. Brister down the middle, complete. First down. It's to Hodge. Boy, he has good hands as well, and Brister takes a good pop. Carl Mecklenburg. And Brister is hurt.
Mecklenburg's going to be playing defensive end in a nickel defense, coming up on the outside, and he's going to make a move all the way around, and he makes that big shot. Now that, well, no, it was a good, solid play. He's a sportsman, because he could have really leveled Brister that time.
Mecklenburg, who said, I never really started at anything in high school. I couldn't really play hockey or basketball or football till I was a senior. Went to a small college, eventually transferred to Minnesota. Very late draft pick by the Broncos. On first down, Hodge for a couple. Brooks the tackle.
This has to be the best passing day as far as effectiveness that Pittsburgh's had all year. I haven't seen all of them. We haven't researched them all, but this is very, very good, because the ball is being caught when it's been thrown accurately. People aren't getting the ball knocked loose. They're not dropping anything. They're making their plays in a real intense situation.
Having trouble getting the play, Brister, whose close buddy is Hodge, by the way. It's an unlikely partnership. Hodge, a devout Mormon, doesn't drink, very careful about his dating patterns. Brister loves the ladies, has been known to enjoy a libation or two, and yet they have formed a very solid friendship off the field. In fact, he said, the only thing bad about these playoffs, we had to put off our duck hunting. We're going to go off and duck hunting, Merrill and me.
Well, they maybe have a few more weeks. They're busy here.
Next Sunday, NBC Sports Indeed will present the AFC Championship game, the Cleveland Browns against either the Steelers or the Denver Broncos. Of course, Cleveland winning yesterday 34-30. The AFC Championship game coming your way next Sunday afternoon on NBC Sports. Check your local listings for the time in your area. I don't know if they've sorted that out yet. The 49ers also will be a home team, and there was some talk that the game, of course, if Cleveland hosts it, will be an early game, a 1 o'clock Eastern game. If it's here in Denver, should Denver beat Pittsburgh today, then they might be looking at an 11 o'clock kickoff. We'll give you that information officially as soon as we receive it.
Well, this is a different Pittsburgh team than other people have seen all year, including Cleveland.
Including us.
Including us.
Pittsburgh now has used 2 timeouts, and that may haunt Noel later should he get in a close game and have to come from behind late. But right now he doesn't want any mistakes. Second down, 7. Almost in, well, they are in Anderson's field goal range even now. Fake to Worley. Screen to Hodge with blockers. And it's well read. Coming up was Wyman Henderson, the right corner. Did he do a solid job with plenty of white shirts in his pants?
Well, it looked as though Dawson, number 63, was well downfield before that ball was thrown. The play was well timed. It looked like he was well down the field, and apparently he wasn't spotted.
A gain of only a couple. The ball just inside the 29, so it's third down and short 4.
You see the counter play faked. Now the center moving to his left. The ball is thrown, and it looked as though he's downfield right there, number 63.
Henderson comes out. Darren Carrington replacing him, and here's Hodge with a flag down, and Hodge running right over his own man and is right at the yardsticks. Ron Holmes makes the tackle, but 2 flags are down.
Looked like there was movement, Dick. The crowd noise got to the Pittsburgh team that time. They couldn't hear the snap count.
Yeah, backfield in motion or illegal motion.
Well, they just couldn't hear it.
So instead of a first down, Hodge.
Illegal motion, left side of the offensive line. 5-yard penalty. Will replay the third down.
You'll see people moving. They can't hear it. It just takes one person to sort of trigger it. Then everybody moves because there's a lot of intensity. There's a pretty physical encounter you're about to go into. You can move early.
Is that one of the reasons you didn't like the shotgun?
We didn't use the shotgun. These kind of stadiums really hurt it. But of course, it's just one incident, and they're going to go right back to it. This crowd is really noisy, really noisy.
On 3rd and 8, Brister complete to Dwight Stone, and a first down at the 23 in front of Randy Robbins.
Gee, he really gets the ball there. Really gets the ball there.
He was a baseball star in high school and drafted by the Tigers as a shortstop outfielder. Boy, he has a Dwight Evans, if you want to really go back in Tiger lore, a Rocky Colavito line. He can gun it.
This is the same play that scored early going the other way in the first half. He releases up, and there's a big hole in the defense right there because Denver's still sorting people out to cover. So the man in motion just stops and pivots, and they lose track of receivers.
Stone in motion. Hodge up the middle. He's hit and gains 3 yards after the contact. From the 20, he gets it in almost to the 17. Greg Cragen.
Hodge was at the 20, Dick, as you point out. He stopped at the 17-yard line. Now that is really driving forward. Both of these guys.
Yeah, his rookie year in '87, he had only 3 rushes. He was a special teams player. Then last year, he led the Steelers with 705 yards. And this year, he finished second to Tim Worley when he gained 621. But he had 100 yards against Houston and 119, best ever against Denver this season. On 2nd and 6, close to the 6th and 5. Worley cutting inside and gains a couple. It'll be about 3rd and 2.5. Mecklenburg and Munford make the tackle as we see the final seconds tick away in this 3rd quarter. The Steelers had every opportunity to fold emotionally, this young team, when they lost the fumble by Worley, and Elway immediately hit on a 37-yard touchdown to Vance Johnson. But the Steelers came back, engineered a drive, got a field goal, regained the lead, and here they are marching deep into Dan Reeves' territory again. 15
minutes going all the way back to early July. These people have worked. Dan Reeves has worked every day. These coaches every day.
The tension of the playoffs and the culmination of all the work of a season falling on the shoulders of Dan Reeves and his counterpart, Chuck Noll, across the way. We go to the 4th period. Dick Enberg with Bill Walsh. Pittsburgh, the underdog, leading by 3, and have a 3rd down and a long 2 inside the 15 of Denver. Brister has it knocked down by Simon Fletcher. Fletcher is 6'6".
Well, that was the key play, because now 3 points isn't going to really devastate Denver. They've got the great passer and receivers. They can score a touchdown if they just keep their poise. They just can't leave their game plan. Now that was a big play by Fletcher. Coming up the field, batting that ball right back in the face of Brister.
And Gary Anderson from 32 yards goes for 6 straight in the playoffs. Oh, and he is dead center.
What rhythm. Beautiful. Right down the middle.
Anderson, the only place kicker to make the Pro Bowl twice from the AFC side in the 80s, and it's a 6-point lead. It's a touching story. Gary Anderson and his father Doug. And now the timeout. Anderson's kickoff taken by Ken Bell, who sprints out to the 30-yard line. A good return. Tackled by number 91, Gerald Williams. Here comes Elway. The Broncos down by 6.
Well, Elway's done it any number of times from here and even driven further back. He can get it done. But right now they're depending almost totally on what they did in mini camps, what they did in training camp, and all the way through the season. It's a good burst up the field. They've got good field position related to a kickoff return.
Bobby Humphrey has not been used much since the first quarter. They've gone away from that game plan. Elway to throw. Lots of time. Incomplete. Intended for Vance Johnson. Well covered by Dwayne Woodruff.
Well, that was the third potential receiver for Elway. He didn't want to throw the ball over there. They had a pattern that was going to break down the zone defense, but Rod Rush's defense just clung right to the receivers. They really had that pattern scouted. Just nowhere to throw the ball.
The interception against Elway by Everett led to the last field goal, as Gary Anderson has kicked 3 today. Bubby Brister's come up with the big plays when he's needed them, and the Steelers hanging on to a 23-17 lead early in the fourth quarter. Fake toss, inside handoff to Sewell, and he's across the 35. Brian Hinkle was not fooled on the play. David Little on the assist.
That inside reverse is sort of tough now because people aren't moving quite as quickly as they would be early in the game. So everybody was sort of sitting there, just getting on track when Sewell hit the line of scrimmage. First quarter, maybe second quarter, might have been a little better call. But right now, they're pulling out everything. They want to make a play. And you can get so anxious. There's still 14 minutes, but so anxious because you don't want to give up the ball.
Third down along 4. Michael Young, the top third down receiver, is the man to the bottom of your screen. Elway going to run it. No, stops, guns, and hits Young. No, yes it is Michael Young at the 45-yard line. And a first down for Denver.
Did Elway have to maneuver that time? All 4 pass rushers put a pretty even level of pass rush on him. So he had to make a real quick move right up over the ball to get any kind of throwing room. You see, here it is. He's just going to move forward to make his throw. He couldn't have run that time because they were just sitting there waiting for him.
And Young, again, as he did in the first half, comes up with that third down reception, and the drive is still alive. 13 minutes, 15 seconds left in the fourth period. Elway to the sidelines to Vance Johnson. And another first down as he's dragged out of bounds at the Pittsburgh 43.
Every Friday, every week, every Friday, they practice a 2-minute offense. And this is a form of it where they're going to throw virtually every down. Here's a well-timed throw. You don't just realize how many times they've thrown that pass, those 2 people, and had that protection. So all of their work is boiling down to the last 13 minutes of the season.
Vance Johnson was a running back at Arizona. He says, I'm just starting to feel comfortable as a wide receiver, I should say. 76 catches this year. Humphrey, somewhat forgotten, gets to the 39, maybe the 38. Little and Lloyd, the linebackers on the tackle.
Just have to keep maneuvering down, settle for a field goal if they have to, because they can get another one and tie it up if necessary. But what they can't do is turn that ball over without some kind of score.
Well, it could be a wild Sunday for the wild card teams. The Rams have beaten the Giants, and here in beautiful Colorado, it's wild card Pittsburgh ahead by 6. 12 minutes to go. Elway on 2nd and 7, going down the sidelines to Sewell. And overthrown. Carnell Lake, the rookie, on the coverage. That's something they wanted to do today. Isolate Sewell on Lake.
Well, Lake has the speed. He doesn't have a lot of technique, but he's right up on a super swift man, and now he pushes him, just knocks him slightly off balance. There isn't anywhere to go. But Elway wasn't looking to throw there initially. He was looking inside, and that was sort of a late desperation shot along the sideline. He wanted to throw inside. He's getting good protection. He was able to do that again. Look inside, no receiver, hold the ball, throw late to someone else.
Lake, a linebacker at UCLA, and now playing strong safety in the NFL as a rookie. On third down.
A lot of protection.
Elway gets out again. And can't get away from Gerald Williams, the rookie from Purdue. He's shy of the first down.
Williams really got going on that. That was life or death, because Elway was going to get the first down. He hadn't gotten there.
And now a decision for Dan Reeves on 4th down.
Well, here comes Sewell. Elway almost trapped, getting outside, but look at the speed coming from in behind him, just to save the first down.
It's 4th down and 4, and Reeves says go for it.
Well, he must really respect that Pittsburgh offense.
No, Elway, that's a little pooch
nice
punt.
Little shot.
No one back, and so, but it takes a Pittsburgh bounce and comes out to the 18. It appeared to be trickling on its way inside the 10, but had a back roll on it, and the Steelers have stopped Denver's Dan Reeves again, and the frustration is starting to build in Colorado. A beautiful shot, but the truth is the sun is setting on someone's season today, as it did on the Giants, and the Steelers are really causing concern here. And it reminds me 2 years ago, the frown on your face when Minnesota caught you at Candlestick when you were a heavy favorite.
Yeah, well, we underestimated Minnesota. They were a fine team, especially that year, much as the Steelers are now. The only break for Denver is the Steelers aren't scoring that much.
Anthony Carter really drove you crazy. A flag goes down on the first down play by Pittsburgh. So Merrill Hodge is the Steeler version of Anthony Carter here in Denver today, and another 5-yarder against the Steelers. And that has been a consistent pattern, but they've overcome it so far.
One thing we know about Denver.
Illegal motion, 79 offense, penalty refused, 2nd down.
One thing about Denver, they can come back to win games. These playoff games are famous for doing it. They've got Elway, the big gun, and the great receivers. But as of this half, other than that one big pass, they just haven't executed that cleanly.
D for Denver, D for defense. 11 minutes to go. 2nd and 9. Underneath to Hodge. And he fights to the 25, where it'll be 3rd and 3. Boy, you imagine in Cleveland how difficult it must be. These hated Steelers from Pittsburgh, and the Browns must, even the toughest fans, say, well, maybe Pittsburgh could win one time, because then we'd be home next Sunday for the AFC Championship.
That Hodge is impressive. That ball was drilled to him. He caught it. He must be wearing down. Now, he ran the mile in the 880 or 800 meters in high school. Not a lot of speed, but great stamina. And this is what Chuck Noll likes so much about him. He can go all day. And he's going to be asked to today.
3rd and 3. Hodge again. Oh, my. Another first down at the 32 with Atwater on the coverage for Denver. What a workhorse. Merrill Hodge, he really personifies that title.
That size, sometimes scouts in professional football don't account for size. Also for speed. Chuck Noll timed his men in a 40 this year with pads on, not with all the special equipment and special starts. The fastest man on his team ran 4.5. And so that shows you that sometimes speed's misunderstood, and size. Hodge is catching this ball. He weighs 225 pounds. It's tough to knock the ball loose from him.
Oh, first down, the clock runs to 9:35 in the 4th. Steelers by 6. Brister to Hodge. And he does not make Michael Brooks miss. Good tackle by the linebacker. And Brister ad-libbing that one. And look at the eyes of Dad and Mom as they watch their son in this critical 4th period.
Well, that might seem like a very innocent catch by Hodge, but that takes about 40 seconds away from Denver later on. The completed pass, the clock running. So by using the clock, that one completed pass can take 4 or 5 Elway passes out of the game. You don't want to stop the clock at this point in the game.
Hodge saving a career game for this playoff in Denver. And this time it's Worley. Nothing there but orange. Rick Dennison, Michael Brooks, Dennis Smith all in on the tackle, as well as Greg Cragen.
Well, I'm sure right now that on the sideline, Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, is probably signaling over there to use as much of the clock as you can. Brister holding that snap to take every second away from Elway they can get.
Chuck Noll, Cleveland born and raised, went to Dayton University, drafted by the Browns. He was an undersized guard and linebacker for Paul Brown. Look at Brister going down the offensive line to call the play and apparently changing at the last minute. 3rd and 8. Underneath didn't quite get to the yardsticks. He fumbled after he hit the ground at the 41-yard line, and he must be exhausted. Another 8 yards for Hodge. He's caught 8 passes for 59 yards. He's rushed for 120 yards. What a day.
Well, that stamina that Chuck talked about, they're still going to him, and he's still quick enough to make a tough catch. Now he's breaking between people. The ball came out when he hit.
Mark Haynes and Tyrone Braxton teaming up on the tackle. 4th and 1 for Noel, and in comes Harry Newsom. Vance Johnson back at the 15. Newsom dropped a punt in the earlier season game here in Denver that led to a Pittsburgh demise. It's Johnson on the run, and fumbles the ball. Did he cover it? Yes. At the 29-yard line.
Well, decent field position to make their plays.
Only the second punt of the day by the Steelers.
That ball was really falling in a strange way. Oh, he dropped it immediately.
Timeout, 7:06 to go.
America.
Elway on first down, being chased from behind. Gets it away. Is it complete? No. Trapped by Mark Jackson, and a flag is down.
Things start going wrong in a situation like this. It brings me right back to 1987 with Minnesota. You know you're the better team. You're the stronger team. You're the best team in football. But on that given day, execution by Minnesota, plus that, you start getting frantic.
Ineligible downfield on the forward pass. Number 67, 10-yard penalty. Will replay the first down.
Well, you get movement early, and these are the kind of things that happen right here. A man moves a little bit early, and if he's maybe downfield, but he threw a block. Now, the rule is if you can make contact within about a yard of the line of scrimmage and throw a block and stay on the ground, they won't call it. Very technical call.
So, 10-yard penalty, illegally downfield, 1st and 20. And Elway, is the pressure now starting to be felt by Denver. Hits one. Jackson almost broke that one for a long one. Rod Woodson was the last Steeler. First down. They pick up 21 yards. Oh, wait. No, he was spotted at the 39, so it's a 19-yard play.
Just a push straight up the field. Elway's at his best when he can throw that ball, drill that ball down inside. And Woodson really can't do much about that. The ball's thrown between him and the receiver, so he just can't make a move on the ball. Got real lucky there, because that ball, that could have gone all the way.
And it appears to be enough for a first down. I guess not. By a link, it is not. Let's go back to drawing the comparison between the 49ers, Minnesota, and this game. You know, one of the things the Steelers were talking about, they said, well, wild card disadvantage on the road, but we played last week. They were hoping that Denver, with 2 weeks off, even though they had a lot of time to prepare, might have lost some of their sharpness.
Well, it's always possible. Again, going back to 87, which is a classic case, we worked too long and too hard preparing for that game, because we were preparing not only for it, but for future games. So the same sort of dynamics could be a factor here for Denver.
Here's the flea flicker back to Elway, and he's throwing long for Johnson. He's got it! What a catch at the 27-yard line.
That was the old flea flicker, handoff, pitch back, practiced over and over, but that time Everett had a good position. Everett saw the play. Thomas Everett, 27, but Johnson's speed had built up. You see Everett in position, but now the speed starts showing up. Everett looks tired right now. He looks tired.
So trailing 23-17. Denver has a first down at the 27 of the